Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really going to try and connect the dots on some recent shocks. It feels like everything's linked, doesn't it?
It really does. We're seeing these ripples across, tech, finance, even basic logistics.
Yeah, our mission today is to cut through that noise and show you those dependencies. We're talking cloud computing affecting, well, everything, right down to maybe the cost of a t-shirt or even the race to the moon. It's all tangled.
Exactly. And what's really striking from the sources we've looked at is this theme of centralized risk.
Mm.
Uh, Basically, when you lean too heavily on one company, one system, the potential for a big cascading failure just shoots up.
Okay, so let's start right at the foundation, the cloud. We just had a massive real-world stress test with that AWS outage.
Oh, yeah, that was huge. And importantly, not a cyber attack, right? This is an operational failure.
Kicked off super early, 3:11 a.m. Eastern, in their main U.S. East 1 region, Northern Virginia.
And the trigger, technically, was a DNS issue, domain name system. It hit DynamoDB specifically.
And DynamoDB is, well, it's huge, right? Amazon's Dataca service.
It's absolutely critical. Think of it as this giant, super fast ledger that tons of applications rely on constantly. It's designed for, massive scale.
Someone called it one of the record keepers of the modern internet, which sounds about right.
It really is. So when that stumbles,
The fallout must have been immediate. How bad was it?
just look at the list of who got hit. Amazon itself, obviously, but also Disney+, Snapchat, Reddit, Canva, Lyft.
McDonald's app, Ring doorbells, Robinhood, United Airlines, Venmo. It's like a who's who of daily digital life.
Completely. And that's just the consumer-facing stuff.
Right, because the impacts went deeper. Critical stuff, too.
Yeah, Amazon's own internal systems went down. Think warehouses, delivery drivers, the Seller Central platform for businesses using Amazon. Everything just stopped.
And internationally.
Same story. Central services. UK government websites like gov.uk, HM Revenue and Customs, they had issues.
Canvas, the online teaching platform, mid-semester, that's rough.
Lloyds Bank, crypto exchanges like Coinbase, even AI tools like Perplexity. It just shows the reach.
So the core problem is that concentration, right? AWS is the leader, maybe a third of the market.
Around that, yeah. Which gives weight to that warning we keep hearing. When a major cloud provider sneezes,
The internet catches a cold, and this time it was a big sneeze, and competitors noticed this, surely.
immediately they jump on it. We saw this after the CrowdStrike outage back in July, too.
So what are they doing?
Well, Google, for instance, is pushing business continuity, suggesting companies run their workspace alongside Microsoft 365, basically saying don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversify.
It's pitching resilience as a product. Makes sense.
Yeah, arguing it's not a luxury anymore. It's essential if you don't want your whole operation to grind to a halt during one of these outages.
Okay, that transition from infrastructure risk to maybe content creation risk,
Yeah.
that takes us to AI, right? Because we're seeing amazing advances, but also some serious ethical alarms going off.
It really is a double-edged sword right now. On the one hand, you have Anthropic launching Claude for Life Sciences.
Anthropic, one of the big AI players, what's the goal there?
It's their first big push into that sector. The idea is to massively speed up research. Think drug discovery, medical analysis, high-stakes stuff.
So speeding up processes where you really can't afford mistakes, how does it work?
They showed examples, like using Claude to quickly compare complex study designs or help draft regulatory submissions, stuff that used to take researchers days, literally days, of digging through data from places like PubMed or Benchling.
Now it takes minutes.
Potentially, yeah. It can synthesize information from all those sources much faster. It's about accelerating discovery.
But that acceleration is also the scary part, isn't it? Like with OpenAI's Sora 2 video tool.
Exactly. That faced immediate pushback. Regulators, actors, concerned about how easily it could create convincing deepfakes.
Yeah, the unauthorized use of voice and likeness, that was a big flashpoint.
It really was. You had Bryan Cranston, the Actors Union, SAG-AFTRA, pushing hard.
Yeah.
And reports of AI generating videos of people like Martin Luther King Jr. in ways his estate found deeply disrespectful.
So OpenAI had to react.
They did. Updated their opt-out policy, voiced support for the No Fakes Act in Congress, trying to get ahead of the regulation,
And this whole AI development race,
Mhm.
it's even sparking fights within the tech world itself, right? The PayPal mafia guys.
Oh, yeah. You had Reid Hoffman, who's a big OpenAI investor, calling Anthropic one of the good guys, kind of positioning them as the more responsible player.
But then,
Then you have David Sachs, who's advising the administration on AI and crypto, firing back. He accused Anthropic of, quote, running a sophisticated regulatory capture strategy based on fear-mongering.
Wow. So it's not just business competition, it's political maneuvering at a really high level over who controls AI's future.
Absolutely. It's about shaping the rules of the game.
Okay, shifting from digital frontiers to, well, the actual frontier space, the Artemis moon mission seems to be hitting some turbulence,
Yeah, it seems the government's getting impatient with a single-source approach there, too.
meaning SpaceX.
Right. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who's also acting as the NASA administrator, basically said SpaceX is falling behind schedule for Artemis.
And getting back to the moon is a big geopolitical goal, right? Competition with China.
Exactly. So delays aren't just delays. They're seen as a strategic problem. Duffy's response: open up the contract. Bring in competition.
He specifically mentioned Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos' company.
He did. The idea is to aim for 2028, but have potentially 2 companies capable of landing on the moon. Again, diversification as risk management.
And Elon Musk's reaction, predictably direct.
Oh, yes. On X, naturally,
Yeah.
challenged Blue Origin, saying they haven't even delivered a useful payload to orbit yet.
So, same pattern. Whether it's cloud, AI, or rockets, the answer seems to be break the monopoly, introduce competition.
It seems to be the go-to strategy when things get critical or delayed. Reduces that single point of failure.
Okay, let's bring this back down to Earth, specifically to resources and what things cost, starting with a scramble for rare earths.
This is a fascinating example of geopolitics driving markets. Cleveland-Cliffs, a big U.S. steel company, just announced they're exploring mining rare earths.
Where?
2 sites look promising, one in Michigan, one in Minnesota.
And the urgency here is,
China. China completely dominates the global supply chain for these minerals.
and we need them for, well, pretty much everything critical, right? Defense tech, EVs, semiconductors.
Non-negotiable inputs, exactly.
Yeah.
So Cleveland-Cliffs stepping up fits perfectly with the government's push for, quote, critical mineral independence.
National strategy driving corporate action.
Okay.
And the market reaction.
Huge. The stock jumped over 20%. Investors immediately saw the strategic value, the potential to de-risk that supply chain. It priced in that geopolitical necessity.
That's a massive move. Shows how sensitive markets are to these supply choke points. Okay, let's talk about another cost battle. Prescription drugs, specifically those GLP-1 weight loss drugs, Ozempic and the like.
Right. Big focus from the current administration here. They're looking to slash the cost of the branded versions.
How much?
They're targeting around $150 a month, using something called the MFN policy, Most Favored Nation.
Okay, break that down. What does MFN mean for, the person paying for the drug?
Essentially, it ties the U.S. price to the lowest price paid in other similar developed countries. And given that these drugs list for, what, $1,300 a month here sometimes?
Yeah, around that.
Dropping to $150 would be a massive change, a real price shock.
And how did the market react to that news?
Well, the big pharma companies involved, Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, their stocks dipped. Expected, maybe?
But the interesting part was,
The compounding pharmacies, Hims and Hers Health, for example, their stock absolutely tanked, down over 15%.
why them specifically?
Because their whole model is selling cheaper, compounded versions of these drugs, maybe in the $130 to $200 range. If the branded FDA-approved drug suddenly costs only $150.
It completely undermines their value proposition. Suddenly, the official version is just as cheap or cheaper.
Exactly. It shakes up that whole alternative market. Huge implications for telehealth and pharmacy retail.
Okay, one more cost point before we hit finance. Buying a house. Turns out timing really, really matters.
Yeah, the seasonality is surprisingly stark. Looking at 2024 data, buying a house in January versus May.
January being the cheapest month, May the priciest.
Right. The difference on a typical, say, 1,500 square foot house could be over $23,000.
23 grand, just based on the month you buy.
Yep. It's all about competition. Fewer buyers out looking in the dead of winter. Sellers might be more motivated.
Makes sense. Homes sit on the market longer then.
Much longer. The median in January was 75 days on market. Compared to the spring peak, April through June, it drops to just 48 days. That $23,400 saving is basically the price you pay for avoiding the spring rush.
Good to know for anyone house hunting. Okay, finally, let's touch on some hidden risks, finance and logistics. Starting with some jitters in the banking sector.
Yeah, this one popped up suddenly. Regional banks, Zions, Western Alliance were mentioned, disclosed they had to write off huge chunks of loans.
Due to fraud, apparently, involving something called NDFIs.
Exactly. Non-depository financial institutions.
Okay, what are NDFIs and why should the average person care?
So these aren't banks themselves. Think of them as other kinds of lenders, maybe subprime auto loans, certain types of real estate financing. But traditional banks provide them with massive amounts of funding, like lines of credit.
How massive.
The total exposure, the amount banks have lent to these NDFIs, is about $1.14 trillion.
Wow. Okay.
And the risk isn't just that the loans they make go bad. It's that the NDFI itself could collapse, potentially due to fraud or just bad underwriting, and the bank's entire loan to the NDFI gets wiped out, almost overnight.
Which prompted that Jamie Dimon quote.
Yeah, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, he said, when you see one cockroach, there are probably more.
That's settling. Captures the fear of contagion, right?
Perfectly. The worry is, if there's fraud or instability at a few of these NDFIs, could it spread? Could that whole $1.14 trillion lending market seize up, hitting all the banks that funded them? It's a hidden interconnectedness.
Okay, quickly wrapping up with logistics and safety. 2 points. First, a tragic cargo plane crash in Hong Kong.
Yeah, really sad incident. A Boeing 747 cargo plane operated by a Turkish company skidded off the runway into the water.
And tragically, 2 airport security staff on the ground were killed.
Yes, in a patrol vehicle. It was the deadliest incident at that airport in over 25 years. Just a stark reminder of the risks involved in aviation, even on the ground.
And on the flip side, some potentially better news for Boeing.
Seems like it. The FAA gave them the green light to ramp up production of the 737 MAX.
To how many per month?
Up to 42. They've been kept lower at 38 after that MAX 9 incident back in January, the door plug blowing out.
Right. So this suggests the FAA is regaining confidence.
It's a significant step. Increasing production is key for Boeing's recovery financially and reputationally. Signals maybe some stabilization after a really difficult period.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together, AWS collapsing, AI ethics battles, the moon race, rare earths, drug prices, bank risks. What's the big picture here?
I think the main takeaway is just how potent these single points of failure are. That concentration of risk, whether it's in cloud infrastructure or a mineral supply chain.
It just amplifies any shock across the whole system. Finance, tech, geopolitics, they're all intertwined.
Absolutely. And what we've seen across the board this week, cloud, AI regulation, minerals, even banking stability through these NDFIs, is that they're all defined by this concentrated risk. And then you see all this maneuvering, political and market-based, trying to manage or mitigate that risk, usually by trying to diversify.
It feels like everyone's scrambling to build redundancy before the next domino falls.
Which leads us to maybe a final thought for you, our listener.
Yeah.
We saw the huge cascading impact from just one failure in cloud infrastructure, that hidden record keeper. So think about your own daily life. Where do you have a hidden single point of failure you haven't really considered?
Yeah, what essential service do you rely on, maybe without even thinking about it? And what happens if its record keeper suddenly goes offline? Something to chew on.